Hello! This video will take you through the process of parallel and distributed execution in Avo Assure using Avo Agent and Grid. In this video, you will be able to explain what parallel and distributed executions are in Avo Assure, identify the methods of performing parallel and distributed executions in Avo Assure, determine the usage and prerequisites of Avo Agent and Grid when performing parallel and distributed executions in Avo Assure, analyze the blueprint of the agent and grid execution performed in Avo Assure. Let us begin with understanding what parallel and distributed executions are. Parallel execution, as the name suggests, is a means to execute multiple test cases of an application or multiple components of an application at the same time. This approach significantly reduces the overall test execution time, leading to faster feedback and improved test efficiency. Distributed execution, on the other hand, allows to distribute test cases across all available computing resources, such as computers in your network, virtual machines, or the cloud. This is specifically helpful to achieve continuous testing, to reduce the execution time significantly, and maximize the test coverage. Avo Assure allows the users to either utilize an Avo agent or an Avo grid to facilitate parallel and distributed test execution. It is very important to ensure that all the test cases to be executed via an agent or grid are in one execution list in the sequence you want them to be executed in. Let's learn more about each. Let us begin with exploring the usage of agents for parallel and distributed execution in Avo Assure. So what is an Avo Assure agent? It is a collection of multiple Avo Assure clients that acts as a bridge between the system and clients, which helps in parallel and distributed execution. It allows to execute multiple test cases across different browsers, devices, or environments, thus reducing overall execution time and improving test efficiency. Please note that, in Avo Assure, simultaneous execution of test cases across multiple clients is achieved with the help of an Avo agent, enabling flexible and efficient parallel and distributed test executions. We now know what an Avo agent is and how it works. Let us understand the requirements for an execution in Avo Assure using Avo Agent. First is to configure the agent via the Admin tab. This setup of the agent helps in enabling executions. Next, a user will need to configure the client. The required number of clients must be initialized within the Avo agent for executions to function properly. Next, independent test cases must be created. Please note that users must ensure all test cases are designed to run independently. Test cases must not depend on the outcome or data of other test cases. If the test cases are dependent of each other, use the E2E execution instead of executing it through an agent. And finally, an active agent. Make sure the Avo Assure agent is active to ensure no disruptions to the test execution. Now, as we know about the prerequisites, let us learn about the process flow of an execution through an agent. To start with, a user needs to navigate to the Execution tab and add test cases to an execution list. Once this is done, bring up the configuration panel, which will display two options, Client and Grid. The user needs to select Grid as the execution mode. Then, choose an agent from the Agent dropdown. Once done, they must select the required browser from the browser. And finally, click the Execute button to start the execution with Avo Assure Agent. A couple of points to be noted here are, execution through an agent does not support keyboard-related actions. The number of agents and clients that can be configured depends on the system capacity. For example, systems with higher capacity support more agents and clients efficiently. Let's say you are planning to perform parallel and distributed execution of 10 test cases using an Avo agent which contains 2 Avo clients. If run, the agent will execute 2 test cases simultaneously using the 2 clients, and the remaining 8 will be in queue to be picked up as per the sequence of the test cases in the execution list. This will continue till all the test cases in the execution list are executed. Please note that the agent being used for the execution is responsible for distributing the test cases among the clients in the same machine. Let's view a demonstration to learn how to perform parallel and distributed execution using agent. As you learned in the explanation, let's begin by activating the agent. To do so, click on the Admin tab. Next, click on the Agents option from the menu. Upon selecting the Agents option, you will be directed to the Manage Agents interface. To activate an agent, toggle the button to On position. Please note that this setting can be applied to any of the agents listed. Increase the client count by clicking on plus icon corresponding the desired agent. Confirm your changes by clicking on the Save button. Navigate back to the landing page by clicking the Home icon. Next, let's select the project titled Avo Bank from the Projects section. Navigate to the Design Studio. Click on the Test Case tab. Here we have already created 4 test cases for this demo. Let's proceed with the execution. Click on the Execution tab. Create a folder by clicking on the plus icon. Choose Create New Folder option from the menu. Provide a name to the folder as per the execution flow, and hit Enter. Click on the ellipses icon to view the context menu. Choose the Create Execution List option from the menu. Rename the execution list as per the execution flow. Add test case to the execution list. Expand the workflow test case arrow to add it for execution. Drag and drop the test cases from the test case section to the execution list workspace. Once the test cases are added, close the test case section. Next, let's configure the execution list by selecting the Grid Radio button option. Now, select the desired agent from the drop-down which is active and connected. Choose an appropriate browser from the drop-down. Save the configuration edits made before executing the list. Once saved, a message will appear confirming that the same. As a best practice, check the status bar on your local machine to verify that the Avo agent chosen for the execution is available. Click on the Execute button. Validate the configuration on the Execute Now pop-up that appears and click on the Execute button. Once done, you will receive a message indicating that the execution has started successfully. While the execution is underway, 3 browsers open simultaneously to facilitate the execution. For this demo, the agent is responsible for distributing the test cases among the clients in the same machine. Now let us explore what a grid is in Avo Assure and how it works. An Avo grid is a collection of Avo agents that works as a central system to smartly assign test cases to available machines. This distribution is done based on which agents are active and how much capacity each system has. It ensures optimal resource utilization and seamless coordination of test execution across environments. It provides the flexibility to execute large number of test cases across multiple systems. This distributed approach helps optimize execution time by parallelizing workloads and reducing the time required for test completion. Let's list the prerequisites for a grid to perform an execution in Avo Assure using Avo Grid. First is to configure the grid via the Admin tab. The configuration process is similar to that of an agent. Next, users must create and configure grid for it to be used for executing test cases. Please note, at least one agent in the created grid must be active for an execution to proceed. Now, as we know about the prerequisites, let us understand the process flow of an execution through a grid. To start, a user needs to navigate to the Execution tab and add test cases to the execution list. Once this is done, in the Configuration panel, they will find 2 options, Client and Grid. The user needs to select Grid as the execution mode. Then, from Grid dropdown, select the desired grid on which execution is to be triggered. After that, the user needs to choose the execution folder and click on the Execute button, which will bring up the detailed execution pop-up. Next, they need to choose the created grid from the Select Grid dropdown. Following that, they must select a browser for the execution. And finally, after filling all details, click the Execute button to begin the execution. Please note that the users must select a preferred browser from the dropdown to specify the environment in which the test cases will run. Let's consider that you are planning to perform parallel and distributed execution on 12 test cases using an Avo grid. This grid, let's assume, contains 3 agents with 2 clients. Therefore, when the execution list with the 12 test cases is set for execution, the first 6 of those test cases will begin being executed, and the remaining 6 will be on queue to be picked up as per the sequence of the test cases in the execution list. It's important to note that for a grid execution that contains a collection of agents, the respective agents in different users' machines are responsible for distributing the test cases load to the clients in the respective machines. Let us move ahead and view demonstrations to learn how to do parallel and distributed execution using grid. Before we proceed to create the execution list, let's first set up a grid. To begin, click on the Admin tab located on the left pane of the landing page. Select the Grids option from the menu. For this demo, let's add a new one by clicking on the New Grid button. Enter a name for the new grid being added. Increase the number of clients to be added as per your testing requirements for the agents to be added to the grid. Choose the agents you wish to add to the grid for execution. Save the created grid. Navigate back to the landing page. Next, let's select the project titled Avo Bank from the Projects section. Navigate to Design Studio. Click on the Test Case tab. Here we have already created 4 test cases for this demo. Next, click on the Execution tab. Click on plus icon to create a folder for execution. Choose Create New Folder option from the context menu. Provide a folder name as per the execution flow and hit Enter. Click on the ellipses icon. Choose Create Execution List from the context menu. Enter a name for the execution list. To add a test case to the execution list, click on the Add Test Case button. Expand the test case folder. Drag and drop the test cases from the test case menu to the execution list workspace. Close the test case section. Next, let's configure the execution configuration. Select the Grid Radio button. For this demo, let's select the newly created grid from dropdown. Select the browser which is to be used for execution. Save the configuration. Click on the Execute button. Validate the execution configuration before executing it, and click on the Execute button on Execute Now pop-up. Once done, a pop-up will appear, indicating that the execution has begun. When the execution is underway, browsers will open in specified clients simultaneously on different machines to facilitate the execution. This demonstrates that the agent present in different machines are responsible for distributing the test cases among the agents assigned to the used grid. Well done. Now that you have gone through the concepts and demos, you should be able to explain what parallel and distributed executions are in Avo Assure. Identify the methods of performing parallel and distributed executions in Avo Assure. Determine the usage and prerequisites of Avo Agent and Grid when performing parallel and distributed executions in Avo Assure. Analyze the blueprint of the agent and grid execution performed in Avo Assure.